Last night, while your body lay peacefully asleep, an entire universe appeared within your mind. There were people to meet, places to visit, conversations to have, hopes to chase, and fears to escape. Perhaps you stood on the edge of a mountain, wandered through a forgotten city, or found yourself speaking to someone who left this world many years ago. While the dream lasted, nothing about it felt unreal. You never stopped to question whether the mountains truly existed, whether the people were real, or whether the body you carried inside the dream was actually yours. Every experience seemed natural because, within the dream, there was no reason to doubt it. Then, without warning, you opened your eyes. In a single instant, the mountains vanished, the people disappeared, the dream body dissolved, and an entire world ceased to exist. Yet something remained. The one who knew the dream was still present. The awareness that witnessed the dream had not disappeared when the dream disappeared. It simply found itself awake in what we now call the waking world. But here, an ancient question quietly waits, one that has echoed through the forests of India for thousands of years. How do you know you have truly awakened? What if waking is only another kind of dream? Before dismissing the question as impossible, pause for a moment and notice your own certainty. Every morning you believe that you have awakened into the real world simply because yesterday's dream ended. But while you were dreaming, you were equally certain that the dream world was real. If certainty itself can exist in both dream and waking, can certainty alone determine what is ultimately real? This is not a question created to confuse the mind. It is an invitation to look more deeply than the mind has ever looked before. Thousands of years ago, the sages who composed the Upanishads were not interested in creating new beliefs or religions. They were seekers of truth in its purest form. They observed the changing movements of life with extraordinary attention. They watched the body grow from childhood into youth and from youth into old age. They watched thoughts arise and disappear. They watched emotions bloom like flowers and fade like autumn leaves. They watched kingdoms rise and fall, rivers change their course, forests become deserts, and civilizations vanish into history. Everywhere they looked, one fact remained undeniable. Everything that could be seen was constantly changing. Yet there had to be something that knew all these changes. There had to be something that remained unchanged while everything else came and went. They asked themselves a simple but profound question. If everything I experience changes, then who is the one who knows these changes? Am I the changing experiences, or am I the silent knower of them? This inquiry gave birth to one of the smallest yet deepest scriptures ever written, the Mandukya Upanishad. Although it contains only 12 verses, sages have called it sufficient for liberation because it does not merely explain reality. It points directly toward it. The Mandukya Upanishad begins not by discussing heaven or hell, gods or rituals, but by examining the most ordinary thing in human life, consciousness itself. Every single day, you pass through different states without giving them much attention. You wake in the morning and experience the physical world. At night you dream another world into existence. Later, in deep sleep, even dreams disappear. These transitions happen so naturally that they seem insignificant. Yet the sages believed they held the greatest spiritual secret ever discovered. They noticed something astonishing. The waking world feels real while you are awake. The dream world feels real while you are dreaming. Deep sleep feels like complete absence. Yet after waking you confidently say, I slept peacefully. If there were absolutely no awareness during deep sleep, who remembers its peace? Who reports its absence of dreams? There must be something present even when the mind is silent. This mysterious presence became the center of their inquiry. Imagine standing before a cinema screen. A peaceful landscape appears, followed by a storm, then a battle, then a love story, and finally darkness as the movie ends. Throughout all these changing scenes, the screen never fights the battle, never falls in love, never becomes wet in the rain, and never burns in the fire. Every image depends upon the screen, yet the screen depends on none of the images. Without the screen, no movie could appear. Without awareness, no experience could ever exist. Thoughts require awareness. Emotions require awareness. Memories require awareness. The world you know is known only because awareness is present. We rarely notice this because our attention is always captured by the changing scenes instead of the silent screen beneath them. Consider another example. A child builds a magnificent castle out of sand beside the ocean. For hours, the castle appears impressive, complete with walls, towers, and tiny windows. Then the tide slowly rises and washes everything away. The child cries because the castle seems lost forever. An adult watching nearby smiles gently, not because the child's feelings are unimportant, but because the adult sees what the child has not yet understood. The castle never existed apart from the sand. Before its creation, there was only sand. During its existence, there was only sand arranged into a temporary form. After its destruction, there remained only sand. The name castle described a passing appearance, not a separate reality. Advaita Vedanta invites us to ask whether something similar is happening with our own identity. We say, I am this body. I am this personality. I am these memories. But are these truly what we are? Or are they temporary forms appearing within something far more fundamental? The great teacher Adi Shankaracharya often reminded his students that ignorance does not mean a lack of intelligence. A person may master countless sciences and still remain unaware of their true nature. Ignorance, in Advaita, simply means mistaking one thing for another. In dim light, a rope may be mistaken for a snake. The fear is real. The racing heartbeat is real. The urge to run away is real. Yet the snake itself was never there. The moment a lamp is brought, nothing new is created. The rope does not suddenly become a rope. It was always a rope. Only ignorance disappeared. Likewise, enlightenment is not the creation of a new self. It is the recognition of what has always been present beneath every experience. This is why the sages compared spiritual awakening not to achieving something extraordinary, but to waking from a misunderstanding. As you listen to these words, notice what is happening within you. Sounds arise and fade. Thoughts comment on what is being heard. Perhaps agreement appears. Perhaps doubt appears. Perhaps curiosity quietly grows. Yet all these movements are being noticed. The thought is known. The doubt is known. The curiosity is known. Ask yourself gently, what is it that knows them? Do not answer too quickly. The mind has collected many answers from books and teachers, but this question is not asking for memory. It is asking for direct observation. Right now, before another thought appears, what is aware of this very moment? It has no shape that can be seen. It has no color, no age, no nationality, no religion. It has been present through every stage of your life. It witnessed your childhood without being a child. It witnessed your youth without becoming young. It will witness old age without becoming old. Just as the sky remains untouched by the clouds passing through it, awareness remains untouched by the experiences passing through it. The sages never asked us to reject the world or deny its beauty. The sunrise still shines. Love still warms the heart. Music still moves the soul. Tears still fall. Laughter still echoes. The teaching is subtler than denial. It simply asks us to investigate whether the changing world can ever become the foundation of lasting peace. Every possession changes. Every relationship changes. Every thought changes. Every emotion changes. Even the body that once seemed permanent changes with every passing year. If we build our identity entirely upon what changes, insecurity becomes unavoidable. But if there is within us something that never changes, then perhaps peace is not something to be achieved in the future. Perhaps it is something already present, quietly waiting beneath the endless movement of life. This possibility is where the Mandukya Upanishad begins its extraordinary journey. It does not ask you to believe that life is a dream. It asks you to observe your own experience so carefully that truth reveals itself without force. And as we continue this journey, we will explore the three states of consciousness that every human being experiences each day, and the timeless awareness that silently witnesses them all, unchanged, infinite, and ever present.